live streaming going. Okay. So what do we need to do to get this world running?
Yeah, I was checking.
So I think David is trying to set up the host. Just
Okay.
give us a second.
Ruth, is that the sort of thing you were seeing when you were running it? Like seeing a red text? Okay.
Yeah, he asked you to go ahead.
All right. And Ruth, can you share your screen when you run it? Let me make sure that everyone that I've got the right access for that. All right, you should have access now.
Actually, you might have to go for ease of time.
Okay.
Because I just put my Oculus on a brand new build and I just realized I don't have Zoom set up.
All right, I will go ahead and go for it.
So if you see another window of mine come in the waiting room, it's just this machine.
I'll let it in.
That is the fastest Zoom load I think I've ever seen.
Do you want to try for it?
All right, there we go. All righty. Let's see if it'll run. Nope, I get the same error.
Let me just give it a try on my side. Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. Is there something we can do to like try to get this to figure this out?
After hitting start, have you tried just putting on the headset? It might be because it's asleep.
Could try that. So the headset, I'm basically not in the world. The headset is waking up and activating, but the world does not seem to be going. What would a previous build be? Should I go to the working folder? Any suggestions, team?
Wait a second, let me check it out. David, which means previous view reform it.
Do what?
Oh, I'm asking David about the sorry.
I just ran it on mine and it's working fine. I'm not sure why it's not working for you and Ruth.
Do we need, I guess, do we like VPN or anything like that? I'm just wondering if like there's some weird networking expectation.
I mean, the only thing for me is Windows Firewall popped up asking to allow it to run. And then once I hit allow, it worked fine.
I had the same thing pop up and I said, yes, go ahead and go.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Steph, if it's working on your machine, I'm inclined to say go ahead and run it if you can.
All right, give me a second. I'll get it ready. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I waiting for something?
Sounds like it's not connecting on David's end.
Oh, okay. Let me. Um, here, wait. Yeah, it was working yesterday. Earlier I did see your hands in the world, David. I don't know what's not connecting now. Let me pull the old version.
Yeah, I'm syncing to the change list that was suggested.
Okay.
All right.
I'll also do that as backup, but if yours downloads first, go for it, Dave.
Yeah, so I've got that, and I'm looking to do the build in the interim folder, or right? Looks right. So double checking what's here. All right, if I run it right now, I guess I've got I'm synced to change list 134011. Should I run it right now, or should I wait until something's ready?
David, are you ready? Yes, you can run.
All right. I'm gonna give it a run. I'm still getting the world is not tracking. There's like the world just doesn't seem to be doing anything.
Do you have Steam VR on your side? You're running it through Steam VR.
No.
Okay, that may be the issue.
Do you want me to get Steam VR running?
Yeah. So basically, like the Oculus goes to Steam VR, and Steam VR in charge of tracking.
I guess Steph, if you can get yours to run, because this download and run will take a while.
All right. Am I good to hit start, David?
Yeah.
I don't see this. Oh, never mind. I see it.
Psst. Hey, over here. Hey, so I kind of zoned out at the end of class there. Would you mind if I borrowed your notes?
I don't mind. Let me go grab them.
Thanks.
They fell through my like carpet.
Awesome. Awesome, thanks. I'll get these back to you by tomorrow. I don't think we've formally met yet. I'm Jacob, and you are?
I'm Stephanie. Hello.
Hi, Steph. What a great name. A name of great people. I feel like I know you already. So, Steph, what are you up to later?
Gonna go pick up some hardware so that I can work on.
Well, that sounds interesting. You think you'll have time after to get coffee together?
Yeah, sure.
Wow, great. I'll see you later then.
At the home.
Yeah, that's all we have so far.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we have now. Thank you.
Did you have any storyboard or like documents you wanted to like use to talk through this? You just want to just talk through the plans and how and where this is at?
Yeah, we have a storyboard. If
We also put in the interim, and I can also put it in the chat room. I just put it in the chat room. It's a slide, a good slide.
I think I've got the storyboard, the story PDF.
Yes, the storyboard PDF. That was the same.
All right, let's go ahead and share that. So this guy. So scene 1, classroom. Into where we were.
Yeah, there was a first word we see.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk through this?
Yeah, okay. So our guest was sitting in the classroom, and we can go to the next slide. So the boy was just trying to make a conversation. So it's like, hey, can you do me a favor? That's what we show in the gameplay.
Gotcha.
And they would probably say, yeah, we can go to the next slide. So they let's hang out later. And so they would just have still more conversation. We have finished on script for this. And they would just tell the our guest, like, I think I like you. And we have a scene 2. So they went transport to the backyard. So now they are trying to moving the things into the house. So they think like moving is a lot of work. And we finally have a place just for us. So they were talking about their dreams. Imagine if they have a dog, and then what's the life they're going to be. Yeah. And then it's about it, the new life. And then the scene 3, that would be the bedroom. There's some screaming, because our backyard and our bedroom are just connected together, and they can hear the screaming and fighting. And the boy would say, "What do you do this for me?" So yeah, just leave me alone. So they have some fight there. That would be end or scene 4. So that was the landing page that we just see at the beginning when you press the stop button. That was in the church. Yeah, we have finished that one. And so we talk to the boy and say, "You look perfect." And I can't believe this day is coming finally here. I come so fast. And I need to go. My wife is waiting for me. So our guest is a part of the people who just anticipate this wedding. This is the wedding for the boy and another girl. They like look perfect match to each other. Yeah, and that's what we have for our story. It's probably that.
Okay, so for clarity, the beginning is we're in the classroom, we're young, feels like this is, we're probably teenagers. Is that about right?
Yes, yeah, it's teenager.
So we sort of go all the way back. Let me sort of like zip through here. So we're teenagers. This is like when we first meet. And then this moment, the backyard, this is a leap in time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so leap in time. We are same characters, yes?
Yeah. Yes.
And we're moving in or out?
I'm moving to your place, your own place.
Yeah, you're moving in together.
So we're moving in. This is our new backyard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then we're talking about having a dog. So like a next sort of adding to the family. So like part of that together. Then we're fighting.
Yes.
A little bit more forward in time. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a bit. It's
Okay.
also flying the time.
And then the wedding this is the same boy.
Yeah.
We're the same character, but this character is new.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, so we met, and at some point we broke up, and our former boyfriend is getting married.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
And then the way you're telling the story is this character, this boy, is being played live. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. Exciting stuff. I mean, one of my first reactions, like just watching it, is part of me was like, I am glad I'm not Steph right now. Like that, asking the guest to step into this role and roll with it is a big ask. I think that's one of my first reactions is like the fact that this is live. You are making a very, very large ask of the guest, which is to just jump into this role and start acting, and in some sense embody this character. I'm curious, Steph, how did that feel?
I mean, I had been there during testing, so it wasn't as weird because I knew what to like expect. And I guess it was just kind of like I'm fine improving and like putting on a different character, so it wasn't weird to me.
And I mean, and then listening to it, like there was like, what are you doing later? And I was like, how do you even know the answer to that question? And I think this one of the things to just recognize what you're doing is, and this is the reality of like all sort of interactive things where you bring a guest in to play a role. They are not the character, right?
Mhm.
Steph is not this other character. And no one is that other character. And when you address that guest as that character, you are putting them in a situation where you're asking them to like try to be that character. And I think a question is, what tools do you give them to enable them to sort of live up to that character?
Mhm.
And I would look hard at those moments. I mean, like look at your script and those moments of interaction, and not just how do they serve the story, but how do they serve the guest?
Mhm.
And like how do you get a guest to sort of get into this role and actually feel the role? And that's like you've got an improv challenge here. And like some of the stuff, like, hey, can you give me your notes? Like that's something that's within the guest's power, because in theory, the guest could know that their notes are on the desk. And yes, I can go get them for you and bring them back. What are you doing later this evening? Like may not exist within the guest's understanding. But if, I knew I had a calendar and like I had a daily planner and it said what I'm doing later this evening, I could be like, oh, look, yeah, I'm going to study hall and things like that. So I think part of this is how do you bring a guest into a role so completely, like your role is asking a lot of the guest.
Mhm.
I think thinking how you facilitate that is a big thing to address. And I think the reason why you have to address it is because you have adopted basically social communication as your interaction here.
Yeah.
Which is I am talking to another person, and so instead of it just being like I can push a button, you're like way up here in terms of like potential interaction. You could have a complicated conversation with this other character, and the world wants you to do that. So designing and engineering that is part of your task. Ruth?
You really need to be able to show the time passage, because without that, I mean, no one's going to get what's going on from scene to scene. So that's really going to be very important to you guys, is to make sure that we all know the time has passed from each of those scenes. Do you really have a feeling of the breakup after the fight?
Yeah. So one thing that we were going with is that the ending should be sort of a twist. So it starts off as a love story, and it's you and this boy getting together and getting married, and that's what the guests should be thinking in their mind. But after the breakup, after the fight, you think, okay, we're not really on good terms. But then you get to the wedding and you think, oh, okay, well, I guess things went back to normal. but then you realize that it's not your wedding.
So you want me to take on the role of this person in this romance, but then you pull a fast one on me at the end to say, hey, guess what? It's not your wedding.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, Ruth. I'm feeling, I'm a little bit wondering why. But I have a similar question to like, what I guess question for me is like, what is this story? Like, what do you want me as the guest to get through this? And I think that gets to, I mean, it feels like you've got a sequence, which is the beginning, the meeting, the, excited to be together, the breaking up. And I would push you on like, what is this story? And sometimes what is the problem that needs to be resolved, right? What is resolution for this story? It seems like, you're saying something, which is you're saying something with a wedding, like wedding has a lot of meaning here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys know that, like you're using it intentionally as a misdirection.
Yeah.
So I would like wonder, like, what does it mean for those two characters? Like, what is this moment in their lives? Like, what is this? And sometimes, like, what is this memory? Like, what does it mean? And you guys are using it as an ending. So, like, how is that an ending for a story in their lives?
I think we're trying to like obviously tell a romance story where initially the two characters love each other so much and you have all the excitement about moving together. But then just like real life, a lot of times there's some unsolvable problems you just have to deal with. You expect to marry each other in the end and live forever together, but most of the time it's not the reality. There will be those problems. And this is kind of what we are trying to experience in the story.
So that's a reasonably complicated story. I think if you look at a simple love story, it's effectively like love solves all your problems. Like most, like a really simplified love story is finding love is the answer to everything. And that's what, and they lived happily ever after is like, that's that story. It sounds like you guys intentionally don't want to tell, and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
So I guess the question for you guys is, given that backdrop, the idea that, it wasn't meant to be, I would wonder, in some sense, like the two scenes I would look at most closely is the wedding scene and the classroom scene. And it sounds like you're telling a story of growth. So this character I'm playing, how does this character change in their expectations and understanding of the context of the story, right? The beginning is like, in some sense, so the beginning is the simple love story. And like the second scene is like the living of that out, right? So like you have, in some sense, your complete little story is, the love story is scene 1 and scene 2. Happily ever after isn't, everything is, puppies and happiness. And so scene 3 is like a problem. Like it's like, that's the story that you understand and believe isn't real. Like it's a little bit of a lie. And so we change as a person, we change in our understanding. And then scene 4 is an extra element of change on that. I think the question is, what do you want me as the guest to get in those changes? And where do you want me to be at the end? Because I think it feels like you're telling a story of this character and of their growth and understanding. And I think you kind of need to know where we are at the end.
And you need me to be invested. I need to be in, as the guest, I need to be in love with this guy. So I can feel the consequences of the fight or the pain of him marrying someone else, or just the pain of it not being love ever after. So you really need to make sure that I'm invested in that.
Yeah, and I think that's where this is going to be your challenge, because you don't currently have a technique in place to really give my character extra perspective. And so you can't, I mean, the way you might do this in VR is you might have a voice inside my head, which is expressing my thoughts and concerns. But you might need a way to show my character's feelings and emotions here. Like, how do I feel after the fight? Am I upset that we had a fight? Am I upset that my understanding of relationships is getting more nuanced and it might not be meant to be? Especially that moment of, like, in theory, your world's gonna have a moment where I go from an understanding of the fight to seeing the idea of the wedding. And so you have a pivotal moment, which is the guest thinks that the story is they're getting married. And they think and feel and understand something in that moment. And then the world's like, oh, it's not your wedding, it's his wedding. And I'm gonna have a big shift in what I think and feel and understand. And that, I think what you're sounds like you're talking about is that moment should be uncomfortable, the first one. It's like, we should not be getting married. Like, this is like, what's gone wrong here, possibly? Because, or what? I think that's a thing to map out, is this character, what are they thinking and feeling and understanding? There's a weird piece of this, which is my character would not be surprised in this moment, right? Like, if we're being honest, there's no way I would show up at the wedding and be like, oh, what happened? I'm getting married to this person. Like, no, there was a full breakup. They were seeing someone else. I got the invitation. I helped him pick out the flowers. I'm, part of the wedding party. I don't know. And so there's I think a weird reality you're playing with, which is this irony is not supported by the world. And that's another thing to wrestle with. And I think that's I kind of get what you want to do with the twist, but I think your story will probably be stronger if you talk through, from a world perspective, this character and what they went through and what the wedding means to them now. You might be able to get a little bit of surprise, but you probably will need to embrace the reality of the story if you want it to be meaningful. Because otherwise it's got sort of a misdirection that might work almost like a jump scare. It's like, whoa, what's this? I'm a little confused. But I don't think that confusion is necessarily what your story is really saying. So I would look at that.
Another point is, right at the beginning, make sure that the guest realizes that they are not themselves, that they are taking on this role of this other person.
Yeah, I think that beginning, basically the beginning and the end are your really important moments. Nice thing about the beginning is it's awkward. This is an awkward scene. And yeah. I can guarantee you, if you did naive guest testing, everyone would be awkward in this moment. Yeah. So you've got a natural alignment of, I'm awkward because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm awkward because this is a meet cute high school thing. But the clarity of who I am and what you expect me to do will be really important. And I would refine the script down to, I think the idea of getting notes is doable. And I think the idea of maybe having a calendar or a planner, being able to respond to that is doable. But I would work on making the guests comfortable in how they interact. And to that end, yeah. I'm skeptical you need movement. You need to be able to walk around the space.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give David the controls to have clunky ways to move around. But I think the guest wants to be rooted and anchored and comfortable just in things coming to them.
Okay.
Yeah, there's very little movement in the rest of the piece. If you just started right there, you're sitting next to each other. I think you could solve a lot of problems without having to worry, like you were struggling to pick the book up or get through the chairs, and you don't need all that.
Yeah. I think simplify, make those moments meaningful and comfortable for the guest. And then, yeah, watch, man, you got a lot. What? But like, I think if you can crack the story of what you want it to be, then you can make decisions about what are those moments that are meaningful. And I think I'm also, my brain's like, oh crap, I'm going to be the person in this world. So like look at your audience too. Like, what is it? Like, what are you asking me to do? And I'll be honest, like asking me to kind of like act like a, like flirting in VR. I'm like, my brain's like, I don't want to do that. So I think that you're asking for an awkward role for the guest to take on. How can you make that more comfortable? My first thought is like minimize the amount of dialogue I'm expected to say. And give me stuff that is, so don't give me guidance on what is sort of like the right thing to do. That helps reinforce my character. And any place that you're like, hey, guest, your job is to, say something that's witty or like make this character come to life. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I've broken the world, right? Anytime the guest has to pause and stumble over like uncertainty, like that's world breaking. And so your goal is to like make these things happen and get me into a place where I know what to do and I can do it right. Yeah. So, and I think about it. Or maybe Ruth, maybe you can be the one doing this. We'll fight over it. But I think that's another thing to think about is how do you make this a guest experience, not just a sort of a carefully planned experience. Cool. Ambitious stuff. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Moving along. Team 35. Let me sort of double check where build interim. I think I'm looking at the right stuff. All right. I've got it set up. I'm going to go ahead and run it. I'm looking at build interim in the interim folder. That sound right? Not build test.
That's all right. Right.
Build interim.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start sharing and get it to run. Do this. Do I really have a controller back there? I gotta remember to put my controllers in a more accessible place. All right, got hands. I've got a desk with my first thought was this is like a Cintiq, but I don't think it is. I think it's got like a binding. I'm guessing this is a book. So I can open a page. Whoa. Nice. I'm just gonna keep turning pages. Ooh, there's a birthday. And we are going somewhere on an airplane carrying an ostrich egg. And we are graduating Ooh, whoa, there was I just noticed there's a plane ticket up in the air here. From, I'm guessing, looks like Carnegie Mellon. Nice. Is there more to grab? This feels like the end of the book.
Dave, I think that there's a problem. So you turn the previous page back, and you are supposed to. Oh no.
I can restart.
Yeah, do you want to restart? We've never seen this bug before, which is kind of wild because
Yeah, first time.
I ran the build on mine. I did not encounter anything like this.
So basically, you turn every page, and it will trigger an activity.
Okay.
Yes, for each page there's a little puzzle thing that you have to complete.
Gotcha. When I got to the, so is there one for this one?
No.
No.
Nothing for this one. Well, actually, we had one, but we haven't implemented that. So just
Okay. So when I got here, there's a birthday cake.
Yeah.
And it disappears.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
And that is also a placeholder.
Okay. And I'm here. And I'm looking
We
around.
need to turn the previous page push it further, to trigger. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
There's a ticket.
Yeah. The ticket.
And you're supposed to, Dave, can I give you an instruction just for now?
Yeah.
Put that ticket into his, yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. The idea that I can take the one that something magical appears outside the book and then I can change the pictures is certainly something I need to learn.
Push further the previous page further. We'll make improve this afterwards.
Oh, it seems the screen has been blocked by the folder.
Oh, yes.
Oh, wait, there we go. Ooh, that's kind of like fireworks shooting into my face. Very being in the middle of fireworks is actually pretty cool. But having them like launch at me. Whew. There we go. I'm gonna guess. This looks like a puzzle.
Real quick, Dave, you somehow opened up a folder on your computer. Would you be able to close it real quick?
Yes. How did that happen? There we go. All right. Where was I? I'm moving pictures around. Yay.
That's about it for now.
Okay.
Yeah, that is everything for now.
Our will just slowly grow and eventually consume the entire universe.
Sorry, no, I was joking. No, it doesn't.
All right. So that's the end?
Yeah.
Yep. So that is for everything for now, and we're still working on the story arc.
Cool. So let me close that down. So if I talk through this, I'm basically looking through a photo album, some sort of like book of memories, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm in an apartment. It's obviously not like fully finished, but my recollection is like there might be like a bottle on the floor. So in some sense, the room I'm in may not be. This feels like a world about regret, possibly, just by judging the space I'm in. And usually, I don't know. Usually, when people are looking through photo albums of memories, it's not because the future looks great for them. They're looking back for a reason. So I'm looking through this. I love. I'm actually the idea of like flipping through an oversized photo album and having the memories come to life was a nice experience, especially the moment like when like the fireworks were like the most visceral moment, but just having that interaction became sort of like a tool that started to make sense to me. Like I had control over it, which was really nice. So I could sort of like, I could go to the next page. I sort of it gave me good control over my attention. Like what is the right thing to do now when I'm looking at, when the book sort of like didn't react or I had to like move it, make it do the right thing, it felt like a misstep, but the fundamental flow was working pretty well. It is asking for a lot of interpretation on my part. And I think one thing I'm struggling with right now is the line between me and sort of this role in this world and like flipping through these memories, and then my role as the guest to like do interactions. So like the moment of like putting the ticket into the picture's hand, I don't even know what that means right now. Or like the moment of rearranging the pictures into like to fit the puzzle, like I did it, but it doesn't have a lot of meaning to me. Like I don't know why I did it. And because I did it, how that affected the world. And I guess I'm curious, what do you want me to think and feel in those moments?
Do you want to go ahead and just talk about the story?
Sure. I have construction going on, so sorry if it's loud, but
Okay.
so the basic story is that you're going through some hard times, and we're gonna depict it by having the environment reflect that by having like empty wine bottles or like torn letters, stuff like that in the environment to kind of imply that you're going through something difficult. And then as you look through the memories, you kind of remember the positive things you've had throughout your life, and we're hoping to convey that by remembering those things, you can always like move forward, use them as like a source of strength to move forward. And for the interactions for the photos, I understand what you're saying. Like we're not completely sure what we want to convey with each photo. So like right now what we have, but we're still like talking through that. And for now we just had some basic ideas we had, but we're still, thinking through what we can do with each photo.
Well, to defend the couple photo, like it's supposed to be like a photo that's torn in half. So you're like very, like, jaggedly torn in half. So you'd be like putting it back together instead of just like a 4-panel puzzle, which is temporary.
Yeah. Well, and I think to the point about you could always move forward. So I think this is one of the things to sort of crack on your story is like, where does this go? Like, it seems like the world has a problem, which is I'm stuck. I'm lost. I don't know, like, is this like a mental health thing? Like I'm like depressed and I sort of need, I need something. And in theory, this photo album is some sense a solution to my problem. Like by flipping through this photo album, I solve this problem in my life by some measure. And it feels a little bit like the story is I need to remind myself that I've struggled in the past and I've overcome it. And I can overcome this too. That feels thematically like what you're kind of talking about is the reason why I'm going to this photo album is to remember, in some sense, my strength. Because I need it right now, because I'm dealing with stuff where I need possibly more strength than I've ever needed before. And I don't think you're telling that story just yet. I think you're telling a story of I'm looking back at some memories, and weren't those happy times? And I guess that would be my question is, what problem am I dealing with right now? We're looking at, and I guess it's the thing for you, we're looking at happy memories would solve my problem. Or do you shift the story more towards looking at moments where I, was strong in the face of adversity, is what I need to look at. Because I think that's kind of like the structure of your stories. I'm a character who's trying explicitly to solve a problem with this storybook. And so I wonder, how does this storybook solve my problem?
Yeah, as a team, we were also talking about this. Like including like photos about past difficulties and how you went through all those, and how that experience is basically a mirror of what you're experiencing right now, which is also hardship. And we're still figuring out what to include in those photos, because every single photo, excluding the first photo, has an interaction, and we are not very clear on what interaction to include in those photos of a difficulty time thing.
What do you want me to do as the guest, or I guess the character, when I'm done looking at the photo album?
Oh, there's a storyboard in our team folder. In our team photo is basically telling the end of the story. That is like you complete this, flipping through the scrapbook, and then the door opens and you walk into light, and there's a line, a little quote in the very end, and telling the moral of the story.
So a good sort of like test of a story and a problem is, why couldn't I go through that door before looking through this book?
Kind of narratively, once you finish flipping through the book, you finish completing your happy memories and your sad memories, then it kind of like flips through to kind of like recap on what memories were, and then it fades from night to day, and then now that it's day, the door is open for you.
So I guess, why couldn't I go through the door before? Like, because it was nighttime?
Yeah, the nighttime is kind of a reflection, is kind of supposed to be a reflection of the I guess the avatar state, which is during the night they're depressed. But then by spending time looking through the scrapbook, like their mood improves by the end. By the time it's day, that they are feeling ready to take on the world again.
Okay. I mean, maybe a way to clarify this is like, what would the character say? If I was talking to that character, and what would they say their problem is? Like, what are they trying to do?
He broke up with his girlfriend.
Okay.
And other hardships, just basically depression.
So I guess, is this world? I think I'd want you guys to get specific about this. Like, this is just, I'm feeling, one, am I depressed? Like, do I need? And I guess that would elevate this to a level of, I possibly need to seek out help, and not just like remember the good times and solve those problems. I'm feeling sad. I'm not sure what to do. I'm stuck in the past and I need to move forward. I think you need to clarify this problem. I think feeling bad, going and then flipping through the photo album and not feeling bad anymore is not going to work, is not specific enough for a story that you're trying to tell. I think you need to get better clarity over how does this solve a problem for me as the guest? It can be a little abstract. It can be about motivation. It can be about like understanding where I am in life, but I think you need to be able to articulate it, because you're going to need to get the guest to understand it. You don't have to be explicit in your execution of the world, but as a team, you need to be able to like say, yeah, this is what the guest needs. This is what the character needs. And this is why. And this is how they change from the beginning to the end. And that's how the story is consistent.
I agree with Dave. I know right now you're just trying to figure these moments out, but if you don't figure it out, your story is going to end up being weak and wishy-washy. You need a very particular thing that has happened and a feeling that you want to portray in the beginning, and you need that room in the beginning to portray that feeling. You may not know why, but you definitely need to feel whatever state the guest is in at the moment. And when you go through the book, if the last picture is a happy one, then it doesn't bring us full circle to where we are right now. I almost feel like you need to see what happened to ruin this perfect life that this photo album has portrayed. I also think it is not a good idea to not have an interaction on the very first picture, because then you're telling the guest okay, all you're doing is flipping the pages. So you need to hold the guest on the first page. It doesn't have to be a complex interaction. It needs to be something very simple as like a tutorial to tell them, okay, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I think that beginning is especially important. Like, what does the guest both understand about what they can do in the world? So like that, this is like sort of teaching them the magic of the world, and also like teaching them like who they are and why they're looking at the photo album in the first place.
It's also important for the guest to know that this is my photo album and my life, not this guy's photo album.
Yeah. But I mean, fundamentally, a lot of this is sort of like just story, like iteration. It's like the clarity of like that basic question: why is the character looking at the photo album now, and what changes for them after they finish looking at the photo album? And if you can get those two answers with some decent clarity, like the photo album is, I think, a strong path to telling that story then. Because you can think about for each picture, how does that progress me to that change? And that will help clarify the interactions too. Like, am I going through the moment of like perseverance? Like, am I transforming each picture from the problem to the solution? So this is the memory of, graduation. I don't know, like, and it's like I'm like, it's kind of a complicated one to tell, but somehow I am studying hard. Like my interaction is study hard and I graduate. Is this the moment of, like, yeah, like you got, I mean, you certainly have a challenge here. Like the relationship one is like the moment where I proposed and I was nervous about it. So I think thinking about that theme and what you want me to go through is important, because in theory, I'm gaining a piece of that change through each interaction in this. And that's kind of your challenge. I'm going to send you guys some worlds to look at that kind of do like take on a similar challenge. And so you can sort of see them. I'm going to try to find them in the, as we're sort of going through here. But yeah, I think you guys have a story problem to crack, but then you have a structure for your world, which I think is in a great place for telling the story. So yeah, I mean, and having a story problem is a great thing for a story round.
Thanks, Dave.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
All right, with that, let's move on to our last team of the day, which is Team 36. We can sort of get things queued up here. Team 36 let's see, line up. Let's see. So anything I should know about running this? Or should I just go for it?
I think you can just go for it.
Right.
So it's a VR game, but we don't have a lot of movement, so I guess you can just sit on your like chair. Yeah.
I like sitting.
Yeah.
All right. I've got it queued up. Let's give it a try. Ooh.
Hey Dave, I just want to make sure that you share your audio because there should be BGM going on.
I don't hear anything myself.
Wait.
Audio shared. At least it should be.
There should be like BGM going on, like.
Let me double check.
Hmm.
So we got that. So the Rift is playing audio. Got that. Just run this and see what we get. I'm not getting audio on the world. I could fiddle around with some stuff here. Give me a sec. No audio is coming out.
Okay. I guess you can try playing, and I want to make sure that it's the correct version. But we should have BGM going on.
All right, let me go ahead and share the screen. Audio is checked. All right, he's down. Do I need hand controllers? We're just gonna look around. Oh, I got hands. Sure. Look around. All right. Ooh. So my first thought was like I was in a bedroom with like a sort of a desk, but then I realized, sort of glanced and noticed that I'm in a bed, and the bed is angled. I don't know. Should I? It feels like I'm in a sort of like a hospital bed.
Yes.
That's my first reaction. There's this glowing ball of light. And is there anything I can do, or should I just mostly just like looking around right now?
Actually, I think you can grab the light point, like the light point to trigger the story. But there should be like actually, oh, whoa, what? It shouldn't be.
I think it crashed.
I have never met this before. Because like first, it looks from the environment, it's the latest build, but we should have like BGM and dialogue, like monologue there, to tell the whole story.
Right.
And there is another like scene, like you shouldn't crash.
Is the audio just music in the beginning?
No, it's not just music. It's also like monologue and like dialogue, and there should be another another character like coming, like get into the like this room.
Okay, because I ran it and I only heard music. I didn't hear.
Oh, if you hear music, I think you can grab like the light point, and then like there will be monologue coming in.
All right, Ruth, if you've got music, I think go for it.
Let me give it a try. 6. Turn on. Okay, and share. Share computer sound. So I at least have music.
Yeah. Can you try grab like the light point? The light point. Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
I think from my end, the audio is really low.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for now.
So I'm in the hospital bed and I grab the ball of light. That wasn't the first thing that I thought to do because I saw the diary and the pencil and my immediate attention was on that. And I'm in a hospital room, so I'm looking around in that environment to try to figure out why am I there, or who am I, or what's wrong with me. The ball of light, I grab the ball of light finally when you tell me to, and it starts the story going, but I'm not sure whether that voice that I'm hearing is my inner voice or who it is.
It should be yourself.
Okay, so it's my inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
Can I actually say something? So you're actually right. We are trying to let the guest to focus on the diary first because our plan is to let the guest to open a diary to start the game. And actually, eventually, we are planning on remove the light bulb because I believe we haven't really implement the function to open a diary and write something on that. So I guess our programmers just put a light bulb there to trigger all the narrative audio and also enter the next scene. So this is just like a emergency way to play the game, but eventually we're planning on just let the guests focus on the diary.
Okay, good. That was my first instinct, was to grab the diary.
Yeah.
And then explain a little bit more about the other character that shows up.
Neil, do you want me to explain that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, the whole story is actually about like a patient. You're playing as the patient who is like lying on the bed, and there's another little girl that you see. She's actually blind, and you guys are having like a conversation because you're actually the patient who has like a cancer. Is like not curable cancer. So we're like, the story is about you decide to like donate your eyes to this little girl. So but you're also trying to help her to see this world because she's blind. So in the gameplay, you're trying to like picture the world for her. But as the story goes on, we want the player to realize that they're like donating their eyes to let the girl really see this world. So it's like, yeah, that's the story.
Okay. I didn't get a sense of her being blind. I thought that she was someone there who had come to visit me, or to talk to me, or I wasn't sure if she was a member of the staff. So you're going to want to have a little bit stronger bond that she is like me in some way, Is this a room with 2 beds and 2 patients? Yeah, you need something that says that she is another patient in the hospital.
Okay. How clear do you think that the narrative, the monologue, speaks to you? Because we thought we have put all those information in that monologue, but since the audio didn't really play very loud,
it didn't play well, and I had a really hard time hearing it.
Okay, yeah, that's probably one reason.
Did you guys put a reverb or something on it?
Joy, do you know?
Oh yeah, so since we have the same voice actor and she's gonna like acting for these 2 characters, so we like kind of like higher the pitch, but we didn't like add any reverse when we editing the audio, but it's kind of like when you higher the pitch, is some part like sounds like reverse just showed up. But we can definitely change it and like put it in the software and just cut those parts.
Yeah, can you get another team member to do the second voice?
Yeah, of course we can do that.
Yeah, that would help you, because it would distinctly be different and you wouldn't have to revert to that kind of editing to get it to sound different.
Okay, got it.
The okay, Ruth.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, like, this is the challenge of making voice distinctives is definitely an audio challenge. And you guys have a world which I think is very, very dependent upon dialogue and sort of characters acting. And so the guest hearing all of that and understanding it is a really important part of your world. But I think, Ruth, your comment about like how does the world reinforce this is a thing that you want to look at, because it's kind of like a thing to be aware of when telling a story, especially in virtual reality, is all of the world building, all of the things that are sort of like passive cues to let us know about what is happening. You guys have to invent them all. So the question of this other character is a patient. If you're making this a real set, a real thing, you might dress her in a costume, which is like she might be in a hospital gown. She might, there might be a reality you have to deal with, which is like you have a room, which is a hospital room. And so she comes in and like there's cues that get naturally built in because of just like those parts of the work. So I think that would be something to look at, is how do you build the world to reinforce these relationships and who the characters are. And like, I mean, just starting the world, the room reads as a bedroom until you look at the bed. And I think that could be an important choice. Maybe you want me to think of this as a place of comfort, or do you want me to think of this as a place of, do you want to feel more sterile, more of a place just of treatment? And so those are some of the things to look at, especially as your story. It feels like the story happening in a hospital is important. I think that's true, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I would also look at that part of how the guest feels at the very beginning of like, where am I, who am I, and sort of what am I doing here? And I think that gets a little bit to the question for the relationship with the characters. I mean, let me put this in another context. Let's say this didn't happen in a hospital. Let's say this is just my neighbor. Like, she comes over and I tell her stories. How does that change the story?
Like, I don't know, because in the very beginning, in the like original setting, we want to make the relation between the guest and the little girl something like you just met in this hospital, and it's not like she's your neighbor. I have never thought about that setting, to be honest.
Well, and part of the reason why I ask it isn't because I think you should put it in that setting, but I want you to like think about what does the context of the hospital add to the story. And I think one of the things it adds, it sort of explains their roles a little bit. Being a patient is possibly more meaningful to your story than being a neighbor.
I think I can answer this question. So basically, the story like start at the hospital because the character like it's very important. The two of like our main character are patients because like they all need kind of need some kind of help from the outside. And for the main character, it's like she got like the uncurable cancer, so she's like she has lost all of her hope of the world, some kind like to survive, but she like the little girl is her way to maybe to keep surviving in this world. If she can donate her eyes to the little girl, it's like to make like let the little girl to live like with her like how should I put it, like to live with her eyes and her like ideas, maybe like emotions, like she's like her like she's like kind of like her message to the other life, something like that.
So you need to paint a picture of, I can see and enjoy this world, but I'm running out of time. And you have a great attitude, you, this little girl, have this great attitude about the world, but you can't see it. So if you play more with the main character being more depressed and more upset or even angry. I mean, you can be angry when you are faced in this kind of dilemma. And the little girl is comforting you and putting color back into your world. And then the character figures that they have a gift that they can give. You know, if you're meeting this girl for the first time, you've got to bond so quickly that you're willing to give up a part of you for them.
Oh, I think there's a misunderstanding. It's like in our original like game setting, it's not the first time like the two girls meet. It's just a normal day. Like they have met for a while. They have not knew each other for a while. It's like they're friends in the hospital, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, but you still need to build that bond because it's the first time me as the guest has met this girl.
Actually, Neil, do you mind to like pull out the script we have? Like, because I believe we put those information in the monologue, but since audio didn't play well, so we can probably show the script and see if we can deliver those information from that. Or maybe I can just share the screen if that's better.
If you have it ready to go, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, here is the monologue that's supposed to be played in the very beginning of the story. So it's like the character of the guest, she's talking to herself, like in the diary. It's like this part.
Derek, can you show like can you show the storyboard, because I think it makes better sense with the storyboard.
Okay, yeah. So this is the storyboard. So our plan is to let the guest start the story, start the game by opening the diary. So there will be an interaction that the guest hold a pencil and try to write on this diary, and the monologue, the audio will be played while they're just pretending to write something on that. And then the girl disappears, and yeah, and then like they have like several conversations, and then like the game just goes to the second scene, which is like the flower field that you saw. Yeah, we're trying to do several interactions in the second scene as well. And then in the end of the story, the audio will be switched back to a monologue. But in the very end, there will be this little girl who is holding the diary, which shows the guest character has already passed away, but she already got the donation for the eyes. So now she can actually see. So this is basically the whole story structure. Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys have a really complicated story to tell. Like it's in some sense it's simple. Like you guys can point to the pieces, but to get the guest to understand the story, I think you guys have to identify moment by moment what the guest is supposed to understand and how they understand it. So one, like first, they understand that they are a patient in a hospital. And like, how do they get that? What do they know about that? Two, like they understand that the diary is theirs. They are writing in the diary, and that is like part of their expression. That the voice in their head is them, like is the guest speaking to themselves and telling them the story. And so sort of like piece by piece, you have a lot of little things you need to get the guest to understand. And I think that's one thing I'd be very, very watchful of, because you have this written out, but this is, I'm skeptical that just a guest hearing this will explain everything to them. I think I'm skeptical they will understand everything they need to understand just by hearing this being spoken to them. And the questions you guys need to figure out is like, what do they miss? And to know that, I think you need to lay out like what does the guest need to understand sort of beat by beat. And some of this is like kind of the basic stuff of the characters. So character A, character B. I like the fact that you actually have them labeled A and B. And like what their wants and needs are. So like character A is who the guest is. The guest kind of needs to understand who this person is and sometimes what their problem is. And so like that is like what their wants and needs. And then for character B, they need to know the same thing. Like, who is this little girl and what does she want and need? And your story is basically they need each other. And by this act of possibly sacrifice and collaboration, they solve each other's problems. Is that like, that's the high level structure of this. Feel right?
Yeah, kind of. I think our main focus, another main focus, also trying to like creating like a connection, emotional connection between the little girl and the guest. We want the guest also feel that she is like a sweetheart and that they're willing to help her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, so and I think to that end, so one, your guests will want to understand and they'll want to do what the world wants them to do. I think the clearest path to the guest wanting to help the little girl is the clarity of why the little girl needs help. And how that help makes, how she reacts to that help. And then the broader goal of the world is how that bigger, sacrifice will help the girl. And so that gets to that gets to the core of what does the little girl want and need, and the guest understanding that. And I think the right now, one of the things that's missing, even just looking at the script, is it's not clear from how this written, like what the girl needs. And like it's clear, like you say that it's it's fun. Like yesterday was quite fun. The traveling flower story was a good story, and like the you know, she's such a sweetheart. She makes me feel like a storyteller, and it makes me feel bad that she can't see the world as I do, even though she's eager to do so. But it's not clear she has a problem, and so I think there's two things to like look at in terms of this. There's the relationship that we have a relationship. I know her. She comes every day, but the bigger, like getting me, the guest, to understand how can I help her, not just in the broad relationship sense, but in this is a world telling a specific moment in the story where I help the little girl. I think focusing on that clarity is going to be important for the guest feeling this story.
Sorry, Dave. Can I actually ask a question? Because the largest difficulty that I felt when I was writing this part is that because they're not meeting at the first time. So in the setting, they have known each other like for a while, and this is like the main character is also writing the diaries probably like every day. So I kind of feel weird to like just like emphasize too much about the girl is actually blind and she cannot see. I just feel like, of course, it will just give the guest like a clear like vision of the problem of the little girl. But I also feel it's not something she will write at this point.
Well, I think that's part of the challenge is like this character wouldn't write it. And actually, it's really great to know. Like, it means you know your character is somewhat pretty well. And I think you have to tell that story in a different way. So a way you would tell that story is how does the little girl change from before I tell her a story to after I tell her the story? And that illustrates how telling her a story helps her in some way, right? And is it just, I mean, like, for instance, like telling a kid a story time is a moment of entertainment. Like if you go to a library and sort of like watch kids listening to story time, it doesn't really solve a big problem in their lives. It's just a moment of entertainment. You guys are not telling story time at the library here. What that story gives that little girl every day is something more meaningful than just entertainment. And that's a tough thing to show and explain to the guest. And you say it always makes her, you know, she makes me feel like a good storyteller. She's always eager, but I think you need to think about that small character change of before story, after story. What does that mean for the little girl? And how does that show stuff? And how do you show her want and need to be able to see? I think it's definitely fair that, I mean, you say here, I know another way to help her really see this world. You're hinting at it. But I think the other side of this isn't just what is written and spoken in a diary form, but what I see in the world and understand about the world. And I think that's another tool you might need to use here to get the guest to understand.
You know, it's awesome that you've created this past between these two characters and you've developed a relationship between them, but all you have with the guest is this one paragraph, and you have got a lot of information and emotion to convey within it. So even though it might not be reasonable to think that they've known each other for so long that she wouldn't be still talking about her being blind, it would be second nature to her by now, but it's not second nature to the guest. And the guest is the one who has to understand it. So in this paragraph, you say nothing about the fact that character A is dying. You know, and cancer isn't necessarily the important thing there, although you can say the word cancer and everyone automatically understands the seriousness of the situation. But you've got to portray that this character is dying, that they are in their last days, in order to create, again, that everlasting bond between the two of them. You know, I really like your line about that, you know, she is the sweetheart. And I wish, you know, I feel bad that she can't see the world as I do. And even though she is eager to do so, that is a wonderful little sentiment that you've got going on there. But don't be afraid to say the word blind, because when we say, oh, they don't see the world as I do, that also means that they just don't have the same point of view. that it's not very specific that they are blind. And it is important for the audience member, the guest, to understand that that's the problem. You have the gift of sight and they don't. And they're so eager to see in your story. So I think it's important to be blunt with some of those terms. I'm not sure that I would, a couple lines up, you say it was quite fun yesterday. I'm not sure that I would bring that in. I think I would dwell a little bit more on the emotion of, I'm so depressed or I'm so upset, but she makes me forget my problems. She brings me relief from my reality. And you're saying that the girl B is eager when you get to that flower field. Ready for today's story? Yeah, today's going to be a story about a happy princess. Is she living in a huge castle? Really get her excitement in that. And it's like, oh, what does the castle look like? Oh, is it rock or is it carved stone? Really get into her being eager about wanting all kinds of information, and to have fun with delivering that and getting that escapism out of that room.
And Ruth, I think especially like your point, like the girl is eager to hear what things look like is a hugely important character attribute. So like the girl, like is she living in a huge castle? That's what a little kid would say. But a girl who really wants to know what things look like would ask what the castle looks like.
Oh yeah.
So like where is her flower garden? Who cares where a flower garden is? What does the garden look like? Describe the flowers to me, right? And this goes into illustrating her wants and needs. She wants to know what things look like. And through what you've written here, I don't believe you that she wants to know what things look like. I'm skeptical she needs to not be blind. And I think that's where you need to illustrate this. Like I want to understand that she does want this. And I think it's, and I wouldn't just rely upon, like, it's not to say that someone who's blind needs to be able to see. And I wouldn't just trust that that's the reality. I'm like, I'm sure there are people who are blind and who have a comfort in that familiarity, and that's who they are. And it's not something that necessarily needs to be cured. But this little girl like wants to see and is hungry to see. And so I think that's getting that illustrated, not just being told to me, but being sort of evidence of it will really transform the experience.
I agree with Dave. Generally, someone who is blind and has accepted it, they have other senses that take over, and they find a really richness in their own world as they can. But one of the things that is a little bit more difficult to understand is color. And you have this beautiful field of flowers, and I might suggest focusing on the flower of fields, or the field of flowers, more than the kingdom and the princess, because you have something right there, a blue sky, a green hill, and yellow flowers. And those are three things that would be a lot more difficult to explain to someone who is blind, what the color blue is and what it means, and what the color yellow is and what it means.
And this world, I think, would really come to life if I went into the flower field and it was black and white. And the girl says, what do the flowers look like? And I had to click on them. And the voiceover said, they're, a lovely soft shade of violet. It's the color of a hug. And when she says that, like the flowers get color. And you could illustrate that moment of how you are helping her see through words, but also by filling this picture in so I visually understand what that means too. And that interaction could become much more than just telling. It could be both experiencing and sort of seeing the characters react.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's so inspiring. Yes, thank you.
If you can find the beauty in that, the blue sky, the green hills, and the yellow flowers, and then take away the color, because that's what she can't understand, and then take away everything so it's nothing but blackness, and to understand that that's what she sees,
Sure.
then I think you have something that's really compelling.
Yeah, and I think that's where the focus of that relationship and the characters, and I think that is going to derive from the characters have clear needs that they express and that the guests can feel and understand and help them resolve. I think it's all here. You just need to like get that clarity and use that to focus your story and the interactions and guide this how this progresses from like understanding at the beginning to this interaction to what the ending feels like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Ambitious stuff, but there's definitely like some exciting potential here.
Yeah, what you just said like is like so inspiring for me. Yeah, thank you so much for the advice and ideas.
All right, well, good luck. I think it's the last team. So I would thank everyone. Ruth, thank you for joining us today. You'll be joining us next week for the exciting conclusion of Story Round. But yeah, a lot of really ambitious story. I'm really excited. Like no one's shying away from story here, which is really really exciting. There's definitely going to be some important team discussions around like what are these important moments, like what do these stories want, these characters want and need, like what's the problem being solved. But those are exactly the kind of questions that Story Round is about asking. So great job, everyone. So with that, TAs, is there any announcements we need to make before we let people go?
I think one note is we have our sound feedback session on Wednesday night this week. And the VR headset, Dave, do you want to share with everyone that they can take the VR headset home?
Yeah, so we're working on the whole, like checking out hardware stuff. I think the way we're doing it is the teams are basically being issued their equipment. It's in the room. You are allowed to take it home in the same way that you get tablets and you take them home. It is on the team to manage that in the sense of like make sure things are taken care of. It's also on the team to communicate to the TAs where the hardware is. So if you're planning on this, make sure that that's clear. And Annie, what's the protocol for just letting the TAs know?
Okay, so you have to send a direct message or email to me, and also to me and Karen and Steph, and also like put everything on the file I just shared in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, so we know that access to hardware is a challenge this round, and so we're trying to make both minimize the challenges of coming into the building and dealing with all that, and but having access to the hardware and making things work. We want the teams, you guys, to be thoughtful about this. This isn't a take the hardware home, one programmer, and then block off VR from everyone else because you need it to work on. Find ways to share the VR with the team. So if you have it at home, get out a smartphone and like find a way to like get a perspective so people can see how it's working. Share the screen. Schedule specific moments with the team where it's about like reviewing the VR, and I think ask everyone like what would be helpful, like especially there are moments in both audio and art where like getting a chance to hear it in the world and see it in the world is really important. And if the hardware is only in the hands of one person, that's going to require a lot more intentional planning. So use this as a moment to think hard about how you're coordinating as a team and how you're sort of like sharing a platform, even though it's legitimately hard to share. So think through that, be thoughtful about it. And one more thing.
One last thing is like I sent in another we'll be reaching out to everyone that signed up for festival committee this week. So if you haven't signed up, sign it up as soon as possible, and we'll reach out to everyone that signed up and see how we can work together and make things work and go with what you have to do in your BVW and visual story and everything.
Okay. So yeah, this week is continue to focus on story rounds. This Thursday, if you guys want it, are extra office hours during the morning session, and I think with that, a lot of great starts. So good work and good luck on cracking your story problems and bringing something exciting for next week. And then beyond that, we're going to be talking a lot more about festival, and round 5 will be the last round of BVW. We're here. We're so close to that already. It's crazy. All right. I think it's everything. So good work. And I will see hopefully some of you this week. And at the very least, we're going to see stuff, Final Worlds, in 1 week. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.